Okay, welcome back, and this is another episode of mrumrocks. This is going to be lesson 6 in our J-Game Tower Defense tutorial. And in this lesson, we're going to change the turrets so that when I click on a different button, for instance, button 1 will give me turret 1 and so forth. Currently, if we run the game, all the turrets, whichever button I click, I just get turret 1. So we have to distinguish between which turrets, and there's a bunch of different ways we can do this. We're going to do it a simple way to begin with, and we might add a better way of doing it later that might be considered more object-oriented, but this way is going to be quick and simple. And in order to do this, we're going to go back to menu area, and I notice that I'm already keeping track of which image I'm going to be placing on a particular tile with this number I. In this for loop, I varies from 0 to 4. I equals 0 to I less than 5. I less than 5 will give me a maximum value of 4. And I send each of those 0 through 4, and I get these 5 images in turn. And so when I have set tile, I'm sending I, and it says tile T, new tile images, get tile. I'm going to send also, in addition, I'm going to send I to the tile. Now I'm going to get a little red underscore there telling me that that's not how my tile is set up. So all I have to do is come over to tile, and I need to set this up so that instead of just getting an image, I'm also going to receive in an int, and I'm going to call this TM for tile number. Yeah, I can just do that. Maybe I should write this out. So, I'm sorry, turret number. Turret number. And so now I know when this tile is constructed, a particular turret number is going to be associated with it, and I can take that down and put it inside my program down here. So what I'll do is when I get first ancestor of TG level 1 class, that goes back all the way to this level 1 view, and I'm going to call a method inside that view called initialize turret, and I will send it the turret number, so that when I create a turret, every time I click on that button, I'm going to go ahead and send this. Now this guy gets a red underscore because I have not yet added that parameter to my initialize turret method back in TG level 1 view. So now let's do that. I come back over here, and where it says initialize turret, I'm just simply going to receive an int, and this is going to be turret number. And now that guy is good to go. And this isn't helping me yet because right now I'm just creating a new turret, and every time I create a new turret, no matter which button I'm collecting or clicking on, I am creating a new turret 1. And so what I want to do instead is I'm going to create a I'll just comment this out so we can see the difference. I'm going to create, it'll say turret 1, or turret rather, and I'll just have T. Remember, turret's my super type. All of my turrets extend turret, and turret should have a capital T. And then what I'll do is I'll say that equals choose turret, which is a method that I have not yet written. But what I will send it is I will send it my TN, and now TN will be sent to this method, which now I need to create. So let's go ahead and call this guy public. Let's see, let's name him choose turret. So he's going to return a turret. So I'm going to say turret choose turret, and he's going to receive in an int, and that's going to be turret number. Okay, so he knows what turret he's receiving in, and I misspelled turret, so let's change that to RR. Good. And now I'll come in and apply my curly braces. At this point, this guy's almost ready to go. Notice that I'm not returning a turret yet, so I have to say down here return, and let's say T is going to be my turret, so I will say oh, actually, you know what? We're going to do this slightly differently. I'm going to make a switch statement, and a switch statement is like an if then else, if else rather, and it's going to simply take in the parameter turret number. So this is going to be again 0 through 4. And when I come in, I will simply take in my different cases. For instance, I can have case 0, and if I send in my turret number is 0, I'm simply going to return a new turret. And I can do that right here, and I'll say new, and I will say turret 1. And that's it. Now turret 1 does take in an image, and so what I need to do is now I need to take this message right here, and when I create turret, I'm going to send it the image for turret 1. And so that's the basic idea behind this. So let's see if we can simply add all of my different cases. I've got 5 cases here. I've got 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now remember, case 0, that's the turret number, is going to be actually for the turret in my list. I'm calling it turret 1, but case 0 means that back up in my list, that was the first element of my list, is always 0. And so 0 through 1 are going to correspond to turrets 1 through 5. And then I should have a default case, and the default case will simply say default. In this case, I will say the default will be return null. Alright, so that looks pretty good. So that is good. Now again, if I do this, I'm returning a new turret 1 in every case. And so that would be kind of silly. Let's see if this is actually running. It says I have some errors, so let's take this. I've misspelled turret, so let's change that. And is that it? No, looks like I've got a problem over here. Turret number is spelled correctly, and it says no, it does not like that. Let's see why. It says change modifier to final. Okay, it wants this guy to be final, so I'm going to change that. And in menu area, it does not like this. Delete this token because I'm sending an int. You don't include the type when you're sending a parameter, only when you receive it. And it looks like I'm clear with my red X's now, and if I run this, I should get, no matter which of the tiles I'm pressing, I should get the same guy in the middle, which I am. That's good. Now, just to show you the difference, if I were to change this to turret 2 PNG, turret 3 PNG, turret 4 PNG, and turret 5 PNG. Those are my 5 turrets. And now if I were to run it, I'm going to get different images to appear because I'm choosing for each one of these. But notice every time I do this, so there's my turret. These are just different images of turrets. That's not really helping me because what I'm doing is I'm still creating turret 1. So I now need to change this to turret 2 and turret 3 and so forth. Now the problem is these turrets do not exist. So turret 4 and finally turret 5. So let me do 1. I'll simply change, let's say this guy. All I have to do is say right click on it or hover over it, really, create class turret 2. And so just like I did before, if I click on this guy and say turret 2 is the name, I'm going to browse and just change this guy to turret 1. That's not right. I'm going to browse and change this guy to turret. There it is. And say finish. So now this guy extends a turret, and all I need to do is say turret 2, and notice he's not accepting an image, so I need to add in here image, I'll call it I, and then I need to send that to my super, and I will say super and simply send in the image I. And turret's already set up. Now it still doesn't have this because I have to import this up in my imports, save everything, and now when I click on the second button, I'll not only get the image of the turret, but I'm actually created this turret too. I'll go ahead and do the others, so I'll pause for a moment. Okay, so at this point I've got my 5 turrets created. So they not only have their individual images, their individual PNGs associated with them, but now they actually are creating an instance. Every time I click on one of these, I'll get an instance of a different turret. Now at the moment, these turrets are roughly identical. They're just, all they're doing is the same thing. They're sending in their own individual image into the super, so that's not a big deal. But where we're going with this, it's a very, very important part of the program. The idea behind this is that turret itself is never going to be instantiated. I'll never create an instance of a turret. Turret's an abstract class, and if I look at turret, I see the keyword abstract, and I will have in the abstract class all the code that's going to be common to all the turrets. So any code that's specific to turret 1, I can place in turret 1 and turret 2 and so forth, but anything that's common to all turrets is going to go in the generic turret class, and all of these 5 turrets will have access. So it's a very slick way of making sure that I can write specific things for each of these individual turrets, differentiating them, but at the same time, all the things that's common, everything that's common to all 5 turrets, I only have to write that one time. In any case, right now the program doesn't do a lot. When I click on the particular tile, a turret shows up, but what I want to have happen is I want it to follow the mouse until I click the stage. So I can do the first part, follow the mouse, very simply. I just say, I use a mouse location controller, and this is via JGame, and the mouse location controller is going to be a new, we're going to instantiate it, so I have to use the keyword new. So I'll say MLC for mouse location controller, and I'll say new, and then I'm ready to go. Now the other thing I need to do now is attach that to my turret. I'm instantiating my turret right here, so I've got T, and what I'll do is I'll say T, and I just say add, let's see, add controller, and then I just do mouse location controller, and he is ready to go. That's nice. Okay, so just that simple. Now I've already imported this, but if it's not imported, then you can just right click on it and import it. But let's see what happens. So now I not only know which particular turret I'm going to be clicking on. So if I click on this guy, I'll get that image, and when I move my mouse over the play area, now just with those 2 lines of code, my mouse is going to, my turret rather, is going to follow wherever the mouse goes. So that's nice. But the other part of it, it's a little bit trickier. What I need to do now is say final, and instead of a controller, I'm going to add a local click listener, and it's going to listen for a mouse click. And so this again is going to be called, let's call this guy drop listener. And again, this is going to equal new, and I'm going to take my local click listener that I have over here, and I'm simply going to add him like so. And now that guy's ready to go. At this point, notice that I'm getting something. It says quick fix, add implemented methods, and that's this. So for the click listener to work, I need to make sure that I've got this implemented inside it. Notice I've got my curly brace right here and right here, and it says I need a semicolon right there. So this is really all part of the same apparatus. When I have a new click listener, it's going to invoke this. So every time I click, I'm going to get this, and it's going to pass in the target, and it's going to pass in the context. The context is my whole game, and the object, the target, is whatever G object this click listener is associated with. In this case, the target is going to be my turret. And so to do this, I'm going to say, if I click anywhere on the play area, I'm going to say target, and I'm going to remove the controller. So I'll simply say remove controller, and I have to tell it which controller I want to remove. So that's simple enough. I'm going to remove the mouse location controller. And then the second thing is I need to tell it what listener to remove. So I'm going to take target, and I'm going to remove listener, and this is done the same way. Remove listener, and this is going to be my listener, and this is going to remove this. So in this case, I can just use my keyword this, and this happens to be associated with my turret. So the target now is the turret. So I'm removing, and let's spell that correctly, I'm removing the controller, I'm removing. Okay, now there's one last thing that I need to do in order for this to work, and you'll notice that I have a little yellow warning here. This guy is underlined in yellow, and that's because even though my drop listener is listed here, unlike a controller, the drop listener is going to be listening for this invoke, and I need to add it. And so, or I need to add it. So I will simply add this again to my turret. So I'll say turret dot add listener. And my listener in this case is going to be my drop listener. And that should cause my yellow warning to go away. And if I put a period here instead of a comma, that would be even better. And so I notice this all looks good. Let's go ahead and run this and see if it's working. At this point, my drop listener is added, and I'm going to, if I click, if it hears the click, let's go ahead and click this guy out here. If I click it, he's left there. If I click this guy, he's left there. Now there's still a couple of problems with this, but as it stands right now, it's basically working. So I'm going to go ahead and leave this lesson right there, and we have got our different turrets being added. Remember that I'm actually going to have different code in each of these turrets somewhere down the line, but all of the code that's common to all of my turrets is just going to be in my general turret class, and so I'll start adding some code to that very soon. That's it for today. Bye-bye.